We've got balls.
It took 7 years, but at long last we have a #1 overall pick who is also a Pro Football Hall of Famer. And unlike many of the 6 men who came before him, Bullet Bill Dudley was never meant to become a star. When he arrived in Charlottesville in 1938, he stood at 5'10" and about 150 pounds, and unsurprisingly, due to his small stature, many did not believe he could play at a high level and was not heavily recruited out of high school. Even his head coach at Virginia, Frank Murphy, had him set up to be the team's punter while burying him on the depth chart as a tailback. But he persevered and bulked up, and by his junior season, he was the team's lead tailback and led the conference in total offense. However, the best was yet to come because as a senior, Dudley helped Virginia achieve an 8-1 record, which was their best finish since World War I. And his signature game came on the final day of his college career when he traveled to Chapel Hill to take on the North Carolina Tar Heels. That day, Dudley accounted for all 28 of Virginia's points with 3 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown, as well as all 4 extra points, with the longest play coming in the form of an 89-yard fake punt return for a score. He also intercepted a pass on defense for good measure, and Dudley was carried off the field by his teammates, ending his college career on a high note. As far as honors go, Dudley took home the Maxwell Award and became Virginia's first ever All-American, but oddly enough, despite his impressive totals, he finished 5th in Heisman voting. To put things in perspective, that year's Heisman Trophy winner Bruce Smith, no not that Bruce Smith, wasn't taken until the 13th round, and third place finisher Frankie Albert was taken with the final pick of the first round by the Bears. In a way, it feels like voters docked him because he didn't attend a blue blood program, so it's good to see that politics are still having a negative effect on college football even over 80 years ago. As far as the team drafting him goes, the Pittsburgh Steelers were coming off of a 1-win season where they gained the fewest points in the league and gained the second fewest yards despite having 4 Pro Bowlers on the offensive side of the ball. To add insult to injury, Pittsburgh had a rotating cast of 3 head coaches, including partial owner and self-appointed head coach Burt Bell, Buff Donnelly, who was pulling double duty as the head coach of local school Duquesne as well, and finally there's Walt Kelsey, who had coached the team to a 2-win season the year prior, throwing a mess at the ownership level, which was known as the Pennsylvania Polka, and it's no wonder these guys are picking first overall. As we've seen to this point, it isn't enough to just have the top pick in the draft, because there's no guarantee the player even decides to sign with the team, let alone play professionally, as we saw with Jay Berwanger and to a lesser extent Tom Harmon. Dudley himself was trending in this direction, as when he graduated from Virginia, he had plans of joining the Navy and knew little about the league and the franchise drafting him, and felt that college football was the height of the sport. But in the end, the Steelers were able to convince him to turn pro by offering him a $5,000 deal. But regardless of his reasoning for going pro, Dudley proved that he belonged almost immediately with a 55-yard touchdown run in his first career game. The following week, Dudley scored again, this time on an 84-yard kickoff return, but the Steelers lost to the Redskins to begin their season with an 0-2 record. But their rookie tailback inspired them to rise from the ashes and win 7 of their final 9 games to give the franchise their first ever winning record at 7-4, finishing second in the East only behind the 10-1 Redskins. Dudley ended his season as the league leader in rushing yards, punt return yards, and all-purpose yards, on his way to being named to a first-team All-Pro. Unfortunately, like so many others, Dudley had to put his career on hold as he joined the Army Air Corps. On top of flying supply missions, he played football while in the military and led his team to a 12-0 record while being named to the All-Service team and winning MVP. Dudley was able to rejoin the Steelers for the final 4 games of the 1945 season. In his first game back against the Chicago Cardinals, Dudley proved that he had not missed a step while serving and scored 2 touchdowns and a pair of extra points in only the second Steelers victory on the season. He scored his 3rd touchdown on the year 2 weeks later, and at 20 points on the season, led Pittsburgh in scoring for the entire year. The Steelers ended up going 2-8 and finished last in the East, but on the bright side, Dudley showed that even after 2.5 years of absence, he could still play and play well. 1946 seemed like potentially a new beginning for the Steelers. The war had ended, and with its conclusion came the returning star running back and a new head coach in Jock Sutherland, who himself was returning from service and was a decorated 6-time national champion in the college ranks while coaching at Lafayette and nearby Pitt. Unfortunately, the Steelers won only 5 games that year and once again had one of the league's worst offenses, which probably means that Dudley's attempted comeback must have been a complete failure, right? Well, not quite. You see, while everyone else around him struggled to produce, Bullet Bill had a season for the ages, and for the second time in his career, led the league in rushing, punt return, and all-purpose yards. On the defensive side of the ball, he was a turnover machine, intercepting a league-leading 10 passes and recovering a league-high 7 fumbles. Unsurprisingly, he took home NFL MVP, but despite being on top of the football world, things between Dudley and Coach Sutherland had deteriorated to the point to where Dudley no longer wanted to play for him. It was this and the physical toll that playing 60 minutes a game took on him that caused him to announce his retirement following the 1946 season. While he had planned on returning to his alma mater as an assistant coach for the forthcoming college football season, the Steelers traded his rights to Detroit, and when he got to the Motor City, once again, money talked and the Lions were able to lure him out of retirement with a 3-year contract at $20,000 per year with a guaranteed role as a coach upon the conclusion of the deal if he decided to go back into retirement. While the Lions were abysmal to say the least during his time with the team, Dudley himself was spectacular as the team's captain, leading them in scoring in each of his 3 seasons with Detroit, while also being named to a first-team All-Pro twice. But when his contract came to an end, Dudley was sent to Washington as Lions head coach Bo McMullen had feared that he would exercise his coaching option. By the time Dudley had gotten to Washington in 1950, they were well past their days of dominance in the late 30s and early 40s, and franchise icon Sammy Baugh was entering the twilight of his career. But much like his time with Pittsburgh and Detroit, a lack of team success did not deter Dudley from playing at a high level as he led the Redskins in scoring in each of his 3 seasons with the team and made the Pro Bowl twice. After retiring for the final time in 1953, Dudley got into the insurance business while also scouting for both the Steelers and Lions for a brief period of time. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1966, and Dudley died of a stroke in 2010 at the age of 88. And that's the story of a man who was thought too small to play football and went on to dominate at every level and became one of the most feared ball carriers of his era.